I wasn't sure who the recommendations were from, but I'm assuming they're from, and it's number 5.
I wasn't aware that it was recommended.
That's just your recommendation. The board still controls that in our budget process of if we're going to roll it in or if we're not. And also, it could be considered the tax money, but it could also be considered the revenue generated by the ads. It's just in the Shorewood Today fund. I mean, if we want to pull the money off, that would be a decision.
Mr. Manuel?
Oh, yeah, just for aid discussion, you know, the board established a special revenue fund for the Shorewood Today magazine and their operations with the explicit purpose that any residuals would be maintained in that fund for the future use to support Shorewood Today activities until the board decides otherwise. Those funds do not roll back to the general fund at the end of the year.
Okay, we'll talk about that during budget then. And the last thing I had was, because we're not utilizing surplus this year, it looks like our contributions, each agency had to go up a little bit, and then we had to raise rates, which is great for advertising after 3 years. My question is, I tried to figure out, is there a way to lower the printing costs? I mean, the printing and distribution. Right now, it looks like we give 50 copies to every coffee store and 300 copies to realtors. And I'm just wondering, because the most important thing, in my opinion, is to get it to all the Shorewood residents, and then I know my business gets like 5 copies, and I'd be fine with 1. So I'm just wondering if there is a way that for next year we can just, I'm just putting it out there, that we look at the distribution number, how many we print. So we know how many we mail, and then there's other distributions and how many we print.
I would like to hear from people that, so it's just not one person's idea here too. So,
Oh, absolutely.
and we're not going to decide that right now. This is,
I'm just using that scope of services, so.
all right.
I just wanted to throw out that when we've been talking about communication lately and how people consistently rate Shorewood Today as the #1 way that they get information about what's going on in the village. Obviously not for the scope of this contract, but maybe next time we budget, I'd like to talk about, could we do, instead of quarterly, do it, have Shorewood Today be every other month? Or is there some other publication we could do in between, or maybe do a smaller version, do this quarterly, but do a more restricted version. Anyway, I'd just like to talk about expanding the number of times we're sending it out, because it seems to be our most effective communication method.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion as stated, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. That takes us to next item on the agenda, citizens to be heard. This item is for matters that are not on this evening's agenda. Discussion may follow comment on non-agenda items, or discussion action may come at future meetings. Is there anybody who wishes to be heard on non-agenda items this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, item 7, new business. First item there, A, discuss and consider police radios. This wasn't our thing, so I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, great. Well, let's kick off. At our last board meeting, we discussed police radios, specifically the option that the board has before tonight to switch from E.F. Johnson radios, which were purchased in 2013. Radios, for the course of their lifespan, from a budget perspective, is at 10 years. So in just a few short years, we would be up to be replacing them in the near future. The reason why the chief member was looking at the replacement of these radios is because we've had some issues with their reliability, of which he is documented in the memo, and would be happy to highlight here for you tonight. The second is because we're one of the few, or we are the only police organization in this area who currently is operating under the system. Everyone else is on Motorola. Oak Creek Fire Department is another department who has utilized these radios in the past and was also switching off of them after this year, correct? Because of the issues with them. Tonight, we also have with us here Chief Whitaker from the North Shore Fire Department. As stated within the memo, the system is moving to Oasis. So all of our department radios will be transitioning to this new system. North Shore went first because they do dispatching, or through dispatch they do communicate with all of our communities. And we expect the police departments to move forward ideally in spring, subject to, well, factors outside of our control, but that's their slated schedule right now to transition police departments over to Oasis. The challenge with the E.F. Johnson's is that we don't know if they will transition correctly to the Oasis system. There's a possibility they could continue to have issues, we don't know. And I can let Chief Member speak more to that. But for specifically tonight, we're looking for direction from the board on this matter because Motorola has a program that they're running with the purchase of their radios that would provide a significant savings to the board if done by December 31st. If you don't choose to move forward with Motorola making this transition now, in 3 years, we're going to be back in front of you discussing radio purchases. Because the radios are slated from the capital budgeting standpoint for 10 years. So if you do move forward this year, then you'll be pushing that timeline out to 2028. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Chief Nimmer so he can walk you through the additional information that was requested from the board at our last meeting when this matter was discussed. We'll allow you the opportunity to also ask questions. I'd like to keep focused on the topic of the radio specifically and what action we're looking for from the board tonight.
Okay, thank you. A couple of you that weren't here last time, just to bring everybody up to speed, and in addition to some of the research that I've done. So 2013, they purchased them. 2014, they were implemented, and soon after that, there were some issues. They had a couple techs out. 2015, December 2015, E.F. Johnson came out from Texas and did some testing. And that's where they found the software, and it was an issue, the battery chargers were an issue, and they updated that. Worked fairly well for those years afterwards. And now that the transition is being made to the Oasis system, there's a lot of things going on with the system, of course. And in September of this year, we started experiencing the same issues that we had back in 2015. And keep in mind, this whole thing was, the idea was is that we can hold off potentially to move to the Oasis system for the digital radios, and all of our issues will go away. Well, when we started looking at the transition in September to the new radio, or to Oasis with Viking Communications, who was the distributor for E.F. Johnson radios, there started some red flags started to appear for me. I've outlined those in the memo, and they indicate that they should be able to get these onto the system, and they said that they will work with us to make them work. That being said, we are the only agency in the North Shore that's with North Shore or Bayside Communications that's having any issue with the analog radios. I also worked with Battalion Chief Jim Mayer, and we went around and did some testing. I also talked with them about their current radio, which is the Apex 6000, which is the radio that we're looking to go to. They've had no issues with the digital system.
Who's
So,
they? I'm sorry.
North Shore Fire Department. So we're confident that if we went to this, that the issues that we have now are not going to be there, because they are in Shorewood with the same radio on the same system. and they've seen a great improvement in their building penetration, which is an area where we lack at. That being said, I talked with Oak Creek Fire Department, who is the only other Milwaukee County agency that has E.F. Johnson radios. They have also had very similar issues to us. They had E.F. Johnson out 5 or 6 times over the course of the last 2 years, and they have, their city council has decided to dump the E.F. Johnsons and purchase the Motorola radios, so they are doing that as we speak. And so we are the last ones in Milwaukee County. There may be one in Waukesha County, but I'm not sure of the status of that agency. That being said, the disclaimer is that they could work, but the pricing ends at the end of the year, and so that is really the decision is do you want to take the chance that they work or they don't work, and if they find out that we don't work next year, we'll be back to you with the increased cost for the radios. So that's kind of the update. I did check with, North Shore and I went out, drove around and did some, for lack of a better word, field testing on the digital radio and their analog Motorola radio and our radio, but it's kind of difficult when you're out there trying to replicate, those types of things. But the response that we've gotten from North Shore Fire Department is that they're working very well. So I guess that's the affirmative of those radios, because I was asked if those are going to work, and I think that the answer to that is yes. I outlined the issues that the officers reported over the course of the last 3 or 4 months. And the response from the communications center, who said that the dispatchers reported that our radios were unreliable. So that's kind of the update. I'll take any questions that you might have, or if you want any feedback from Chief Whitaker, who's here.
We could get this started officially by making a motion.
Make a motion for the village board to authorize the purchase of a Motorola radio not to exceed the amount of $83,000.
Second.
Discussion? Yes.
Are these the only is the one that you're recommending purchasing, are they the only providers for that technology?
So, no. So Milwaukee County, I believe 3 years ago, got a contract with Motorola. So the pricing you see is the Milwaukee County contract pricing with Motorola, Baycom being the provider of that contract.
Distributor.
So you're suggesting going on, if we purchase them this year, we would be, I just need to know the mechanics, we are piggybacking on an existing contract.
Correct. With Milwaukee County. All Milwaukee County agencies.
And there's no other, like Oak Creek, I know one of them are transferring this year, but then the others, health agency, I don't know if it was fire or if it was, one of the other ones is still on EFJ. So if they decide not to change over by the end of the year,
Who's that?
I don't know, it's in the packet. Oak Creek has 2 units, 2 different units that are, one of them's changing, the other one's not. I'm just wondering,
In my packet?
yeah. So for, you want me to take time?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
Oak Creek Fire is the only one that I talked to.
I will find it for you based on
Sure.
the question. But, thanks for letting me know. There are other providers, and Milwaukee County's contract ends when with them?
And December 31st, 2017.
And then they no longer have a
Correct.
contract with them
Correct.
for purchasing?
Correct.
Okay, and I got a copy of, I was trying to figure out, is there a service part to these contracts? Meaning you get the equipment, and so for our current equipment, it sounded like if you did the timeline, it took from 2014 in June to 2015 in December for you guys to get them to come out and fix the radios, to do the fix. Is that correct?
Well, all I can attest to is I got here in May of 15 and they came out in December of 15. So one of the things that was identified to me upon my arrival was the radios, and so I started looking into that. The local Viking Communications came out several times. They weren't able to fix it, so they brought in the big guys from National that came out, and December 15th was the time that they could make.
But they were being responsive.
They were, yes, they have been.
Okay, because I'm just wondering, I did get a copy of the contract, so if we go with this new contract that you're recommending in the memo, the old one doesn't say anything about service times, or like our IT contract says, we're emergency here and you have to respond in 30 minutes, or, so I'm just wondering if that's not normal, but I feel like we need to have a commitment by whatever service provider we're working with or we're purchasing from, that if the equipment's not working and we don't have the expertise to fix it, then they need to come and fix it. So anyways,
What's the North Shore Fire Department? Did you buy through Bay County too, or?
So Motorola, the contract with the county is